For those of you who have done microeconomics and who have enjoyed supply and demand, this is the chapter for you. It's all about aggregate demand and aggregate supply, which is essentially a very similar concept to supply and demand. So if you haven't seen supply and demand before, make sure to go through the micro review before going through these videos. It might help you a little bit. Essentially, we're going to look at aggregate demand, what are the different factors that shift aggregate demand, how it's constructed. We're going to look at aggregate supply. The tricky thing with aggregate supply is that there's more than one curve depending on the time horizon that we're dealing with. And we're going to look at the whole idea of between these three curves, so the aggregate demand and the two aggregate supply curves, what's the long-run macroeconomic equilibrium, and what are the different things that could shift us out of this equilibrium. In this chapter, we're only going to look at a little bit about the concept of going back towards this equilibrium if we're in a recession or if we're in a boom phase. We're going to look at more of this in chapter 15 with more government intervention. So at this level here, we're not going to talk about government intervention as much. We'll just kind of slide a bit in there. But essentially, we're going to look at what happens when the economy recovers on its own. And the purpose of the next chapter will be to take this same model but look at it from a perspective of going through a recession or a boom, and the government actually wants to do something to minimize the detrimental impacts. So for now, let's understand the model well, understand how it moves, how it's constructed, and this is the purpose of this chapter, chapter 14.